Darla's praises. Out of all the nationals, she is probably the most trained trainer out of anyone. So people listen. What'd you say?
I don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing.
No, it's a good thing. Listen up. You're talking to the best coach in our company. So I want you to put all the stuff that's going on in your head down for a minute and listen on how to be a successful coach. Darla, take it away.
No pressure. No pressure whatsoever. Well, I figured out a long time ago that to be better, I had to learn how to be better, right? And so I have spent a lot of money learning how to be a good coach. I've done several different trainings. I am a certified business coach. I am a John Maxwell trainer. So there's a lot of things that I've done. Doesn't mean I'm the best that there is. I thank Nancy for that. But I know there's a lot of good coaches in this room as well because I've listened to you, I know you. And anybody that's probably had a counseling background, you know how to coach because you know how to bring the questions out with people and work with them. So what I'd like to know right now, because I think experiential learning is the best, I would love to coach someone right now. Oh. Now here's the criteria. Someone who would like to develop directors. Oh gosh, look at this. Now I have to make a choice. Okay, I'm going to go in the back corner because I saw her hand go up first. And I'm sorry, this is who? Linda. Okay, so Linda, we have to have a little conference here first. I have to tell you what we're going to do.
Okay.
So.
Okay. What's that? She was the third. What's that?
Okay. All right, so we're going to set the scene. We can stand back to back because we're going to be on the phone.
Yeah.
How do you want us?
Okay, so we don't have a whole lot of, like, you guys got to stay within, like, this radius.
So you can just stand behind me.
Yeah.
We're acting like we're on the phone. Okay. Maybe not that close, Linda. I have a little balance problem, so maybe you don't.
You know what? Can we move you guys over just a little bit? Yeah.
Okay.
All right. You move over first, and then you back up. But is it okay if you so directly look at both walls? So it's yeah.
Yeah, we have to talk this way. Okay, the scenario is that we are on the phone. Linda has called me or let me know that she wants to develop directors. So we're just going to start into the conversation. So ring.
Hi, Darla.
Hey, Linda, how are you today?
I am doing great. Thank you so much.
That is good. You know, I am so excited that you called me and that you wanted to talk about developing directors because I really believe that this is the time and the point in your career where you really do need to move forward, and developing directors is going to be that. So are you ready to take some notes? Because we're going to figure out what it takes for you to move these people forward, all right?
Absolutely.
All
Hand in
right.
hand.
So the first thing you need to do is figure out who on your team, I'm losing my balance here, who on your team is going to go for directorship and help them have a solid show schedule in place. You know, that means 8 shows minimum. So start making your list, call them and get them on board, okay? Now this is going to mean weekly check-in calls for you, so you can help them with the leads, teach them how to ask everyone. You know, plus I think you probably already better start like a step-up program, something like that, just to offer it, you know, to everyone, because, you know, I know you're going to make the list, but you might miss a few people, okay?
So am I supposed to start writing those names down now?
Yeah, right. Start writing those names down right now. Okay? And then another thing, be sure you're offering a recruiting segment at every team meeting. You know, this is so important if you want people to start to get recruiting bug right away.
Well, you know, I'm not really for sure on how to offer that.
Well, you know, just have a few people do some testimonials that have already recruited and, you know, train on the 3 I's of recruiting, inform, invite, and interview. You know how to do that, don't you?
Yeah, I just don't have very many people coming to me.
Okay, well, you know, just get it started. Okay, now let's talk about your personal recruiting. You know, Linda, let me ask you, do you have a big ask?
I got a big, yeah.
Having a big ask is really important. You know, like people like Brian Parker and Stacy Etzel, these are 2 people that have really big asks. And they're not afraid to ask everyone they meet. And that's what you need to do as well. You ask everyone because you never know who might be the next consultant on your team. So how does this sound, Linda?
It sounds great.
Okay, so I'm glad that you have this plan in place and that you've taken the time to figure this out, because I know that you're really, really gonna soar forward with this.
So is that how we get started?
Yep, that's how we get started.
Okay. I'm ready.
Yeah, whoa is right. How did that sound to you guys?
Rushed.
Okay, and did she come up with anything?
No.
No.
It was all from you.
Yeah, that's what I call the ATM, the automatic telling machine.
Oh,
Right?
that was
And
good.
how often, and even though I was very exaggerated, how often do we do that? We just, blah, 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 this is what you need to do, and get this many people in order. And sometimes we don't take the time to find out if they've got the skill or the will to really make that happen. So now hopefully we'll see a difference in a correct way to coach. So now we're actually gonna coach Linda and find out what Linda knows and what Linda wants from her business. Okay, are we still good here, Patty?
We're good.
Okay. All right, so this is the what I call coach. And if you want to do an acronym for coach, it's connecting. Oh, okay, thank you. Yep. Connecting, open, approachable, caring, helper. Connecting, open, approachable, caring, helper. So when you think of those words, when you think of coach, and let me ask you too, you know, people ask this question all the time. Have you ever been coached by somebody, whether a sports team or whatever, that you really responded to and it made a difference? Somebody was shaking their head over here. Teresa was, I think. You know, what was the difference with that coach? Stacy, you said yes. What?
It was my cheerleading coach in high school, and honestly, she coached me more about what I was going through as a teenager than on cheerleading.
Right. So that probably gave you confidence then, it made you feel good, so then you were better able to perform and do what you needed to do. Right. That's what all good coaches. Becky.
I had my high school basketball coach. She was really mean and really tough, but you knew that she cared. Like, she took the time to really explain that you knew that you really mattered and that she cared,
Right.
even though it was
Even though you hated her some days because she made you ran those laps or whatever, you know. Yeah, there's a big difference. And when you find that person that believes in you, but yet they're still tough. So I'm not saying go soft on your consultants, because sometimes you have to ask the hard questions and they don't always like it. I mean, I've had people that are like, I'm not talking to you anymore, because I ask the hard questions and I push the envelope just a little bit. But what good does it do them if I don't? That type of thing. So, all right. So, are you ready? Oh, she left me.
Well, I thought you were going on, and I didn't want to
No.
be in your personal space here. I didn't want to be on camera as much.
Oh, she didn't want to be on camera. Okay, so we're gonna do the same thing. We're gonna be on the phone, but we're gonna start it a little different this time. So,
Okay.
ring ring.
Hi, Darla.
Hey, Linda, how are you today?
I am doing great. Thank you so much.
Good, good. You know, I know you called me and you said that you wanted to talk about developing leaders. So, give me a little background on that and tell me what you're thinking.
Really, when I got back from conference last summer, I had about 7 people join me, and out of those 7, 5 voiced a strong desire to become a director. And I have been looking at my team over the last couple of years, and I'm ready for the next level. I'm ready for the next 2 levels. And I know it's all about building my team, and I think I have 5 really motivated consultants.
Okay. Linda, back up just a little bit and tell me a little bit more about why now you're ready.
It's all pride. It's just all stinking pride. I'm tired of being where I am. I see so much potential in some of these people, and sometimes I feel like that I see more potential in them than they see in themselves.
Okay. So what will it mean to you with these promotions?
A feeling of achievement, that I've always looked at as executive as something I really wanted to strive for. And to reach that level at this many years in my life, it's time.
financially? Would there be a difference?
It'd be nice. It's not necessary.
Okay.
It's truly a lot of just personal pride.
Okay. And you know what? I don't think there's anything wrong with that either. There's accomplishments, there's achievements, and it's all builds us up. And I think, I don't know you that well. We've just really met, but I can tell that you're a very giving type person. You've helped me several times throughout this weekend, and you're always right there. And so I know you love helping people. And I think doing something like this is going to help other people better their lives. Would you agree with that?
That's my prayer.
Okay. So where do you want to get started with this?
And I feel like I'm a good coach. I feel like that I really put a lot of effort and time into making sure that my consultants make the phone calls that we have set up. I feel like I'm pretty organized in relation to weekly phone calls, and they're all at a certain time, and I keep them accountable, and we do this is what you're going to work on this week, and then how did that week go the following week.
Okay, tell me a little bit more about that. What do you do specifically on what are we going to work on?
Well, first of all, I make at the very first phone call of the plan is, we make up what do you want to accomplish? Where do you want to be? How do you, what do you, kind of the same questions you just asked me. Where do you see me? Where do you see yourself in 3 months? Where do you see yourself in 6 months? Where do you see yourself in a year? What do you currently have on the calendar? What would you like to personally have on the calendar? And then I let them set their goals. I let them tell me what they want to accomplish. And then I try to give them a few ideas of how to start working toward that goal of getting 8 shows on their calendar. Because that's always where it starts. And they have to have more shows on their calendar to be in front of more people to get the recruitments.
And how successful are you to getting them to that point where they're a consistent 8 shows?
Yeah, that's where we are right now. We pretty suck.
Okay, so is that something you'd like to work on then, to try to get the consistency?
Absolutely, yes.
Okay, all right. Okay, so give me an idea of when they tell you what their goals are, what do you say when you would like to see them a little higher than that?
If, okay, repeat that question again.
When they say, well, I can do 4 shows this month, I've got 4 on my calendar, that's all I can do right now, how do you help them see that 8 shows would be a better return on their time?
Okay, that's a really good question. I start out by saying, do you see yourself only doing 8 shows a month? Is this all you can get on your calendar? Is that all you feel like you can get on your calendar? I try to find out where they can, if they think they're too busy to put on 8 shows, or if they have a spouse that says, no, you're not allowed to do more than 4 shows.
So you explore the possibilities of them adding more. Good.
Right.
Good, because that's the ultimate goal, and I think that is something that if you can stress to them repeatedly that that's the goal to get them where they want to be, and it's a building process, I think you'll get there. So it's.
And sometimes I feel like that I'm working with their level of confidence.
You're right. That's just what I actually was going to ask you that next. Have you explored where they're at with their confidence, with their skill set, with their will to make this work?
I feel like I ask them about their level of confidence, but then I don't know where to go from there. Because then I feel like, am I gonna make them feel like they're not good enough? Or that's kind of where I feel like my level of coaching stops.
Okay.
I can see their lack of confidence. They can possibly see their lack of confidence, but where do I go from there?
Well, one thing my coach always did with me, which I loved, was, Darla, I'm sensing that you're a little hesitant here. Or Darla, I'm sensing that you might be a little fearful of doing XYZ activity. And she was always right. There was a hesitancy because I didn't know something, or there was a fear because I didn't think I could do it. So I would say, Linda, just asking them, and I always love the phrases, I'm curious, or I'm sensing, or I may be right, I may not, but what I hear is, and then they can correct me and let me know whether that's accurate or not. And I'm not always on the mark. Sometimes you hear something that's really not there. So by asking their permission to clarify it for you is a better way than just guessing. You know, because I made the mistake one time of just saying to someone, oh, it sounds like you're really scared to do this. Well, I'm not scared. You know, they got defensive, and so then you built that wall. But just saying, you know, I'm sensing or I'm hearing, I may be right, I may not. How does that sound to you, Linda?
That sounds good. I always struggle with some of those personal words to use because as you indicated, you want to put the feelings on them. I guess another struggle that I have when we start talking about their confidence of getting more shows on the calendar is that they struggle with who to ask and how to ask. And I've always tried to take them back to their Frank's list, which is now the new one, launch list or something like that. Their list.
Yeah.
So I feel like when they say, well, they've asked these 10 people, and then I go, well, then ask 10 more, and I feel like I'm beating that.
Okay, so may I make a suggestion at this point?
Please.
I would do, at that point, then I would say, you know, Linda, it sounds like we need to work on this just a little bit. Would you like to take some time to explore what to say?
Absolutely.
You know, and then you just go right into, then you go into training. You stop coaching and you go into training. So you switch gears. How does that sound?
Okay, explain to me the difference.
The difference between training and coaching, training is teaching a skill. You're teaching them how and what to say, who to ask and what to say. Where you're coaching, I'm saying to you, who could you ask? What could you say? But when I'm training, I'm telling them what to say and what to do.
Do I make that separation? Do I say, let's go from training to coaching?
Yeah. I think you need to take the moment, the teachable moment, and just say, let's stop for a minute and explore how we can, you know, figure out what to ask people. Because
Okay.
it sounds like you're struggling with that.
Okay.
And you just stop right there. I think we're going to stop right here too, because we could keep going on, but
Forever.
Time. So was that helpful to you though, Linda? Did it help you explore a little bit, or?
It did, and I think also realizing when you're in a coaching scenario, when you're in a training scenario, a question that I have, and I'm just gonna take advantage of this time, you guys, sorry about that, is I've heard coaching directors say that if they didn't do what they were supposed to do for that week and you're doing your check-in call, that I'm sorry, we can't talk today. Why don't you work on those things you should have been working on? That's a hard one.
I
I've
know
done
it.
it a couple of, but it's a hard one because you just feel like you're shutting them off and
You got to get over it. You do. You really do, because you have to match your time for their time. And if they're just loving to talk to you on the phone, it's a waste of your time. You could be talking to 3 other people that really want to make something happen, and you're not. You're talking to this person who's like, oh yeah, well Johnny was sick this week, so I couldn't make any calls, and okay, fine, so do them now. Stacy.
Can you give some words of gracious to getting out of that phone call at that point?
I knew somebody.
Yeah,
So you want me to be a bad consultant?
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, no, basically I would say, you know, Linda, it sounds like you weren't able to do what you wanted to do from last time, from the things that we talked about. It's always back on what they wanted.
Right.
It's not what I wanted. It's what they said they wanted prior to our call that we're following up on. So I would say, so I think right now might be a good time for us just to schedule another call, hang up, and you get busy on what you said you wanted to work on last week or 2 weeks ago or whatever. I do. I go back to take the time to do what you said you wanted to do. I didn't say it, you said it.
So how
I was
How
gonna
much
say,
time do you give them? Like, do you say, okay, we'll talk in 2 days, or do you?
usually they've got to wait another week to get back on
Okay.
my schedule or whatever. Yeah. And usually it's going to take them that long too. So.
So Darla, from their standpoint, like when you're coaching them and they're like, okay, so you're coaching them and they're like, yeah, no, I didn't do that. How do you think they feel, you know, not being able to, you know, get coached by you, not being able to fulfill that hour or whatever? How do you, I mean, like,
Well,
do
if
you,
they put value to it, they're going to do what they
there,
wanted
okay,
to do.
okay.
You know, and I
Otherwise-
basically say, and they say, well, I didn't get it done. And if they don't give me a reason, I'll say, why do you think that happened? And we talk at the end of our call, which we didn't get to with Linda, is what challenges do you feel might come up between now and our next call?
Ah.
What challenges do you think might come up between now and our next call that's going to prevent you from doing or get in your way? Or, well, I try to explore everything. And a final question I always ask is, what question do you want me to ask you when we talk again? It could be, did you get it done? How many bookings did you get? Did you recruit? It's whatever pertains to what they're doing. Linda, thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Yeah, I don't mean you have to stand up here the whole time, so. All right, yes, Grace.
Just to embolden Linda a little bit, I remember back in the day when Amy Nail was still with the company and she was coaching people on Nancy Joe's team. I showed up to a call and I had done what I said, but I figured, oh, she's just gonna like kind of let me off the hook and like she's nice, you know. And
She
I
is
remember-
nice.
Yeah,
But-
she is nice.
yeah.
You know, in your mind, she's nice, so she'll just, let me get off the hook and we'll just I'll put it back on my schedule for this week. And when she's like, okay, so how did you do with that? And I said, well, Amy, I didn't get it done. And she goes, oh. Well, Grace, what I need to know is this going to be a pattern in you? Because if it is, there really isn't a reason for us to continue our coaching calls because you will be determined to stay where you're at. And I'm coaching those who want more. So I need to know right now, is this going to be your pattern?
Very
And I
good.
went, oh, no! And she goes, okay, so how about this? Because why don't we hang up? I know you want to move forward, and you take this time, like you said, to work on this. I said, okay. I never showed up to a call again without having done what I said I was going to do. And I didn't feel she was mean. It just really showed me that she wanted to see me succeed.
Right.
And she called me out on my crap right away. So
Yeah, and
they won't hate you, and if they do, it just means they're shallow.
Well, it does mean that they really don't want what they say they want. You know. And you have members on your team that are social. They just want to come to the meetings. They just want to talk to you, and that's fine. But you have to keep it in check because it's wasting your time if you're not working with the willing and the ones that want to move forward. Then. So obviously, you saw a big difference. Hopefully, between the two. I have to be honest. I'm not on my best game right now, but. You can see that there's a difference between being the automatic telling machine, and being the coach. And sharing with people from your heart, listening. We've heard about listening over and over this last day and a half, 2 days, whatever, and how valuable it is and how developing relationships is so valuable. Those are two key things of coaching. If anything I can tell you today, learn how to be a heart-centered listener. It's just a life skill, no matter if it's with this business or just life skill period, that's going to benefit you. Be a heart-centered listener. What I mean by that is listen with your whole heart. You take away everything you're thinking about that person. I don't like the way they have their hair. It's distracting. I can't look at them. I wish they'd get different glasses. We've got these things going through our head, right? Yeah. Good grief. I can't believe she wore that, that type of thing. It is stupid, but we're humans, and that's what we do. We have to get that out of there. And again, I have been coached by one of the best, and Dana Phillips, who is the person that trained me to be a coach. And anyway, she always talks about like releasing everything and seeing the person whole. And she even kind of, does this to herself, just to remember, I want to listen with my heart, and I want to see them whole. And I know when I'm talking to her and I see her do that I have her full attention. Jane and I are looking at each other right now. She is the only person I'm concentrating on right now. Other things are going on in the room, but if I really want to listen to what Jane has to say and hear her heart, I can't let those other things interfere. I can't let the fact that her blouse is really bright green and it's like, hitting me in the face. No, I'm teasing. You have to let those things go because otherwise you're not going to hear them. And so that's why I say it's a great life skill. Because how many times have you been somewhere and a clerk is giving you bad service or they won't help you or whatever and you just want to rip them? But how does that serve you? Who knows what they are going through? Who knows what life tragedies or issues that they're facing that make them grumpy that day? So what can you do to listen with your whole heart? And okay, the same thing is true with your coaching. I may not like what I hear, but I need to listen to all of it to help that consultant figure out if they want to solve their issue and how to solve their issue. Helping someone discover their own solutions is the best thing you could do for anyone. You guys have the answers. I know you're all excellent. We have so much experience in this room. But by you telling them what to do, does that really help them do it?
No.
No. You teach them skills. You do that at your training meetings and, you know, on your calls and things like that. But when you're coaching, you're trying to find out, what do you know, Janice? What do you know about bookings that's going to help you fill your calendar? And then what you don't know, then we're going to segue and do a training on and work more intently, or send them somewhere like it's been mentioned before too. Oh my, PC University, you guys, that place is awesome now. All right. Okay, so let me give you a little bit more. And you know, I really believe it's a privilege, and one of the best things of my job is to help somebody else become successful or be the best that they can be. They may not, in my eyes, be successful, but if they're turning a show in every other month and that's good for them, that's good. You know, if you can help them do that. We want them to see more and do more, but I think it's a privilege to help them get from where they are to where they want to be. Okay? So what is coaching? It's that to bring that person from where they are to where they want to be. It's helping them discover their own solutions to their own situations. Discovery is empowerment. When people are empowered, they take action. So like, I was talking to one of my directors on the way down here, and she said, you know, my January didn't look too great, so I got on the phone in the middle of December, and I called 25 people, and I was ready for that, and I didn't get anybody, and I got the answering machine. And I got 7 bookings and 2 recruit leads. And I said, what was the difference? I just made myself get on the phone. I was excited about the specials. I knew we had something great to offer, and it was in my voice. And so she got the results that she wanted. All right, so she was empowered to take action. Coaching is looking to the future. It's not dwelling on what they did or didn't do. Because if they didn't do it, we don't have anything to talk about. You know, if they did it and they didn't have the results they wanted, we have something to talk about, but it's still moving to the future. Here's a word I didn't know before that I love now, equifinity. Equifinality, sorry, say it right. Equifinality. More than one way to get to the outcome. And you do that in the discovery process. I've been amazed sometimes when we have a coaching call and we get done with it and I'm like, I never thought of doing that before. But through the process of just asking questions or whatever, they come up with this idea and I'm like, what a cool idea. Of course, you know what I'm doing. I'm sharing it with everybody else the next time I get a chance. But it's the discovery process. We've heard this before too. It's not about you. While coaching your team and helping them move forward is going to help you financially and building your team and so on, you have to take yourself out of it completely. It is not about you. You're out of the equation. It's also about not fixing them. How many times have we done that? I'm just going to tell her or him, whatever. It's empowering. It's back to finding their own solutions. And then, like I said, it's listening with all your senses. And the second part of that is asking powerful, curious questions. So, of course, you're dealing with all kinds of personalities, and they bring their own unique set of challenges and gifts and talents and whatnot to the table. And so you do need to learn how to read people as well. So another thing that I've done is learn about the personalities. First of all, learn about yourself. How many really know your personality style and your quirks and your talents and your gifts? And one person. Half of some of them are kind of
My coach right now.
half. Yeah, I mean, knowing yourself first is key. Once I understood my quirks and why I did certain things and my love language, and there's just so many things, I could better understand other people. Love languages, if you haven't read that, the 5 love languages, that's an excellent book as well. Because I have a consultant who love language is gifts, and he was always giving me gifts. And I thought, that's not my gift. And I'm like, you don't have to do that. Don't do that. But I realized he had to do that to show his affection and whatever for me, and to be close to me. He always had to give me a gift. So, yes,
Can I make a comment about that?
sure.
I think that's so important because if your consultants are words of affirmation and you are not giving your consultants words of affirmation, it's almost as if you are criticizing them.
Yes, you're absolutely right.
And if they give you words of affirmation, it's almost certain that they enjoy words of affirmation.
Yep, and
I know. I was
you need to learn to accept it, even if it's not your love language, because words of affirmation are not mine. I mean, like, yeah, just, Nancy Jo, don't say anything about me, just introduce me, that kind of stuff. I, that's just not my thing. But for her, it is. Nancy's words of affirmation is one of her gifts. She has many, I believe.
Yeah.
So learning those, and I would encourage you to just, get that book or look at the different personality types so you understand. I have one of my consultants who's very audio, so she can only communicate by telling me every detail of something. I have learned I have to listen to it because she can't tell me the final outcome without telling me, well, the dog broke through the screen door on the way. The kids were getting ready for the bus the other day, and then the dog broke its leg, so we had to take it to the vet. Well, I waited till the kids got on the bus, and then I took the dog to the vet. I couldn't get into the vet right away because they were really busy, and they lived, the vet's 20 miles away. Just blah, 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 blah. But she couldn't tell me about not getting a booking or whatever it was until she told me all of that.
Oh my gosh.
So, do you have a few of those?
Yes.
You don't. You have to allow that to happen because they cannot communicate any other way. I'm sorry. They just need to use a lot of words. I just what? Uh-oh. Sorry. All right. Well, and I call this situational leadership. So for instance, I'm like Stacy, I'm more introverted and shy, believe it or not. I've learned to make myself meet people, be out in a crowd. I'd rather not be in a big crowd. I'd rather be home by myself. I could stay at home 4 or 5 days on end, not leave the house, and I'm just fine. And other people are like, how can you do that? Don't you have to talk to people? I said, well, I talk to people. I just don't see them face to face. I'm okay. But I call it situational leadership because I cannot communicate with that person that's very gregarious and outgoing, and they're, Sarah, where'd Sarah go? That'd be Sarah jumping all over the place. Okay, she's jumping. She's back there. She's jumping all over the place. And if I'm talking to Sarah, I've got to be talking like this, and I've got to be moving because Sarah's not going to relate as well to me because I'm like, like that, looking at her going, where do you get, Patty, where do you get all that energy, Energized. I do know that when she crashes, she crashes. So. All right, but it's going to make that other person feel more comfortable. Don't you feel comfortable with somebody that's similar to you? Another term for that is mirroring. Maybe you've all done the exercise before where you sit opposite somebody and you mirror their, what they do. Okay, and then, you feel very comfortable if they're doing the same thing you are and they're similar. You find that common ground like we've learned about, like Nancy talked about. So these are all things that are going to help you with coaching. So let's talk about the 4 steps of coaching. And I didn't do any overheads here, but we've all seen it, the GROW model. Okay. Yes. Yep, we will. We will. Okay. Yep. I will do that. I actually printed off some coaching questions for you and left them in the hotel, so we'll post them. I was trying to be efficient with my bag last night and I forgot to put them in this morning. All right, the first step in the GROW model is the who. You're connecting. You're finding the who. You're going to spend some time building rapport here. You're going to ask questions and listen. One of the ones I like to ask is, well, how is your week gone? Or how was your month? Or depending on how long we've talked. What were your wins from last week or the last time we talked? What were your wins? What are you celebrating? So you spend some time. There's some people that need that time just to kind of tell you about everything. And there's people like me who are like, okay, let's just dig right into it. Yep, week was good, did this, did that, boom, I'm there. Some of you are nodding your head, you're like, yep, let's get to it. Step 2 is discover. What does the consultant want to talk about? And a lot of times you have to let them share or vent first. And then I ask the question, if I don't have a clear picture where they want to go, how would you like to use our time today? Or if they've listed a lot of things, talked about a lot of things, you might say, thinking of all the ways we could spend our time today, how would you like to use it? So then they have to narrow down. Again, you're not doing it. They're making the choice. Thank you. Even losing all this weight, I'm still perspiring Darla. Thank you. Okay. A lot of times, or sometimes, they want to talk about something that's not taking them closer to their goal. So here's a question for that. Share with me how this topic is related to your goal of fill in the blank. Without saying, hey, you're really off track. Or maybe they are getting there, but I didn't get it. Or how will we know this time has been successful today? How will we know this time has been successful today? So once you've established that, you know what they want to talk about. Now we're going to go to step 3, which is design, or the action steps. You want them to write down as much as possible. And if you notice, I was taking a few notes too while Linda and I were talking. It's always good to do that because you can hear something and then maybe you move on to something else and you forget, but it was an important thing to know. So making notes like that is always important. And having them write it down. Another thing is clarifying the time frame while you're doing this too. So if they say, well, I want to get 6 bookings on my calendar for February. When would you like those bookings on your calendar? What's the date, deadline date for those? And clarifying that time. Because again, otherwise, if they don't have a date or a finalization. Sometimes, again, you talk about a lot of things and you say, where do you want to start first? And we get that started, and then I say, what else? It used to irritate me, again, when Dana would say that to me, what else? And I'm like, well, I just gave you 3 things, you know, and she'd say, what else? She said, I say that because I don't know if you're done. You tell me when you're done. And now the people that I coach on a regular basis go, yep, that's good. That's where I want to stop now. They know, but I'm still going to ask what else. Okay, so you're exploring those action steps, you're discussing them, you're deciding at that time whether or not training needs to happen as well. And it may happen at that time or you may set up another time to do it. And then step 4 is commit and the accountability and support section. Here's where you really want to acknowledge and express that belief in them and let them know you know they can do it. Because without that, people, I don't know, we all need it, right? Some more than others, but they need that confidence expressed in them. It's that opportunity to fill them with inspiration. We can't motivate people, but we can inspire them to be motivated. Did you know that? Motivation has to come from within, but inspiration to be motivated can be there. So, some of the questions I would ask, next week when we talk, what is the key question you want me to ask you? Like I mentioned before. What do you want me to ask? And that's where they're helping me to understand how I can hold them accountable. Right? And another good one is on a scale of 1 to 10, what is your level of commitment to take actions before our next call? Lack of commitment usually means more coaching needs to happen. More confidence building needs to happen. And then it's the what might get in your way of accomplishing these goals. Talk about the challenges. And how can you work through them? So we're going to talk about them. We're also going to talk about how can I avoid them or work through them. What support would you like from me? skip through some of this because I have to tell you a story about listening. I think this is such a funny story, a true story. One of my consultants was sharing with us one time. She's Hispanic. She's from here in Florida, and she used to tend bar. So whenever there's a party, all of her friends say, "Oh, Marshy, go pick up blah, 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 and you can, make the drinks or whatever." So she was going in to get tequila. And she walked in, of course she has a little bit of an accent. She walked into the liquor store and she told the guy she wanted tequila. And he said, "Are you Mexican?" Well, she blew up at him. She goes, "No, I'm not Mexican. I'm Hispanic. If I had walked in here asking for vodka, would you ask me if I'm Russian?" And I mean, she just let him have it. And so he turns around and he looks at his manager, and she said she could see his shoulders shaking. He was just giggling and laughing. And he turned back around and he says, "No, ma'am." I said, "Are you mixing it?" So listening carefully makes a big difference. Of course, she was apologizing all over herself, but I thought that was hysterical. "No, if I'd asked for vodka, do you think I was Russian?" Okay. So listening is very important, and not judging, because she was judging then right there that he was judging her, type of thing. And of course, I can't tell it as well as she did, but it was good. So listening is very important when it comes to those things. Asking those powerful questions. Again, another great life skill. If you have children, one of my directors, I love watching her parent because she coaches as she parents. She has an autistic son who just turned 16 and he's driving now, which she said is very challenging because of his little quirks and so on. But when I watch her parent, she'll say to one of them if they've made a bad decision or didn't like an outcome or whatever, "So Dylan, what do you think you could have done different to get a different result?" I'm like, how amazing. So if we even tried some of this with our children, just to get them to think about the decisions they make, because everything's about choices, right? And so that's one of the questions I use. So Susie, if you had made a different choice, what do you think the outcome might have been? Or what choice do you think you could have made for a different outcome? Really, we need to be asking. Self-coach yourself. Ask yourself some of these questions as well, because it makes a huge difference when you're trying to analyze why something worked or didn't work. And always look at, like they say after every show, assess every show and what went well and what didn't go well, because it's going to show you a wealth of information and things that you can repeat then. So coach yourself after every show as well. How many of you are comfortable with the silence? We didn't really have too much silence. There was a little bit there, but Becky, you're comfortable? Stacy? Did it take you a while to get comfortable with that silence though? Yes? Yeah. Right. And we want to fill in the blank, don't we? Yeah. Especially of you that have a lot of words you like to use. It's like awkward, so you want to fill that blank in. Don't do it. Resist. Count to 10 slowly. They will come up with something. Doreen Grass told me one time, she said, the first person who speaks loses.
Jack Canfield.
Jack Canfield. Yeah. So you want, it allows them time to think. Again, recently I had a luncheon with a director and I said, "How can I help you in 2016? She says, "I knew you were going to ask me that," because I always ask those kind of questions. And she said, "Just a minute." I bet we sat there for a good 4 minutes. I'm drinking my coffee, she's thinking. She said, "I don't want to just give you an answer off the top of my head. I want this to be something that's valuable to me and to you." And so we sat there and she thought about it and then she gave me an answer. So don't be uncomfortable with that silence. It's not a bad thing. It really isn't. You remember the song, "Silence is Golden," right? So just sing that to yourself. All right. Couple of things when you're asking questions, and I think it's time for me to wrap it up here, is try not to use a why question if you can all help it. Sometimes we have to, Oh, but why implement or indicates like you're pointing the finger at them. Why did you do that? It's more negative. So tell me how that happened. Just rephrase it. Learning how to rephrase the questions. It can become defensive for some people. All right? I was really bad at this when I started coaching. I would lead people with my questions because I had my outcome. I knew where I wanted them to go. And as I'm coaching my coach, that was the biggest thing I got criticized on. You were leading me. You led me down a path to say what you wanted me to say. So don't lead. Remember, take yourself out of it completely. He told me, he says, because I was coached by both Neil and Dana Phillips, he said, you're not a trial attorney. And I'm like, oh, okay. And you know, there's that tough love again, like you were talking about, Grace. It's just spill it out there, you know? And we already talked about coaching is separate from training. If you feel the need to train, you stop, you ask permission, and you switch hats, okay? You know, I just want to challenge you to think about the next time you talk to your consultants, what am I saying? What questions am I asking? And I'll get these posted online, but there's some that you want to always try to have an open-ended question so they can't say yes or no because your conversation starts there, or answer with a couple of words. What's the best thing that happened? What made that so terrific? How did you feel when that happened? How can you repeat it? So it's not a yes or no. Did you feel good? It's how did you feel good? You know, what happened there? So you'll get all of these as well, and I apologize, it's a short version of this, but hopefully you got a few things out of this to help you.
Awesome. Thank you, Darla.
So, and I don't know where'd Miss Laura go? Yes, question.
Since you're an expert on the coaching, where is a good place? 'Cause this is where I lack. I know that's why I'm stuck where I am. So we have this product of professional development money that I sit there every year. And in December I come around and go, I should have used it. What can I use it for? Is there anything out there that you know of that would be good or connected?
Well, Dana and Neil Phillips, Ultimate Coach University. You can become a certified coach. I don't know exactly what the costs are now because it's been years, and there's different tracks. They have a network marketing one, they have a business coach. Dana, D-A-N-A, and Neil Phillips, Ultimate Coach University. There's other ones out there you can Google too, but I know that's a really good one. Just grabbing a book on coaching. And we have some excellent audios and resources within Pampered Chef too that are really good. Questions that are already there and stuff like that. So it just, you know, thinking of the two things. Am I a good listener, and am I asking some powerful questions and curious questions? Those are the main two things to start with, and then get yourself trained and so on. I think it's one of the best things you can do as a leader. So, any other questions? All right.
Wait, I have one.
Oh,
I don't mean to put you on the spot. I'm just curious. Because I know we share the love of John Maxwell. What level do you think you would be at right now?
I hate to put you on the spot.
yeah, you
but-
did. You did. You did.
Here we
put me
are.
on. I would say a high 3.
And do you have a goal to go higher, or are you liking where you're
Oh,
at?
always. Always. But even John Maxwell said he's not a 5. So,
I think he's only given a couple people 5s.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and just so you know too, people like John Maxwell, Jack Canfield, all of these speakers that we have at conference, they all have coaches. Coaches have coaches, you know, so it's a good thing. Yes?
I have a question. Okay, you know, people always say they want to be coached and they want to do all these things, and then when the next week comes around, they're not there.
Yeah. They didn't want it bad enough.
Exactly. So do you leave a message? You know, what are the words to use? You know, for the people who say they want it, but they really don't, and their actions say they really don't. But you want to leave the door open and be positive.
Right? But you can only do that so many times.
Right.
When I get stood up 3-4 times in a row, I don't even offer them another spot. So.
Okay,
because
the first time.
First time I will offer, because you never know what happens. Sickness, forget, whatever. And sometimes people aren't in a habit of keeping appointments.
Right.
Type of thing. And so I give them the option, oh, I'm sorry I missed you. I had a schedule for such and such a time today. Give me a call and we'll get you back on the books. It's up to them. I don't say I have next Tuesday open at 3 o'clock, let's pencil you in. No, it's up to them. I call them just because of my schedule, but some people prefer to have the person call. You know, that way, if they're not there, then I know right away and I'm not waiting around. That's my personal preference. Okay? All right, thank you guys.